Hey, it's Chris Beyer,
Hey, it's Chris Bowling.
and we are still CB Squared,
Bill.
coming to you with week 4 of what it means to deal with healthcare and how an employee and their family navigate healthcare. Chris, I have to ask, is that your favorite shirt? I think that's 4 weeks in a row you've worn that. That's really weird.
I was wondering if that, if you're like Mr. Rogers and that green
Yeah.
sweatshirt thing you got on is hanging in a closet and you come in every day and
I have 7 of them, actually. So it's just, I don't ever want to have to question though. So yes, here we are in week 4. So we talked through, the last 3 sessions, really the challenge that an employee goes through and their family goes through. It's confusing to access healthcare. It's not simple. It's a maze. That second week we talked about, really the difference that exists in price between different providers in the same PPO or HMO network,
Right.
and that pharmacies have different prices, even if your copay is the same. Cost, like anything, when you purchase it, is going to differ where you purchase, and peeling that back for employees, their families, and for employers. And then last week, we really talked about what it means to be an educated healthcare consumer. And that's so important to get rid of that mystery of what it means to go to the doctor and focus on making those right choices, because ultimately it's not just that employee's pocket that's impacted, it's the employer, it's their fellow employees, and we have to do a better job. So Chris, we said this week we're going to share some of the solutions that we have found for our highest performing clients. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about that because, we've got 4 topics we want to cover that we think could benefit an employer that's maybe watching this, but talk about how we go about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what we're not going to do. And that's
okay.
What we see our industry do, which is come in with their big, enormous toolbox. And here's
Everything.
all the stuff that we have. So hire us without having a clue of what you are. How do your employees want to engage? And that's something, Chris, that you and I stick to our guns. We are not going to throw tools at you until we understand you.
And that's so important.
I refuse to do that. Of course, we have every tool you can possibly imagine. We're the 10th largest broker in the country. Who cares?
Doesn't matter if it doesn't apply to your situation.
Amen. Yes.
And then, it's so true.
I'll just stop because I will go on my soapbox.
I know.
Yeah, it drives me insane. So what we want to do today is just talk about just 4 basic things that really help in each one of these categories that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And, we talked a little bit last week about stop having this big open enrollment meeting to try to cover everything. Yes. And then try to educate and try to, talk about, being a good consumer. Stop.
Yes. It doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work anymore. It's just keep it to the changes. So, but what we have done very well is a multi-prong communication approach throughout the year. Every month, touch on something. Keep it short, keep it to the point. And you and I talk about this a lot, that, this is the first time we've seen 4 different generations working for one employer. And every employer needs to understand the way I want to get my information and the way buyer wants to get his information.
Totally different.
Totally different. And then my kids who are in their 20s don't even talk to them. They want to get a text.
Totally different. So, and that multi-pronged communication, I think, again, this is a positive change from what we've experienced over the last several years, and especially with COVID. You and I wouldn't have had this type of interaction. We would have sat in a conference room and just talked about this. We would have done this by phone. To leverage technology to its fullest extent, but it has to fit for the employee and their population. But, a couple of those multi-pronged communication successes are doing employee meetings to educate using the virtual platform at night. Yeah. I know that sounds simple, but when did we ever have an education meeting with that employer that the spouses could really attend? Yeah, we do it on a Saturday morning and everybody's got to get ready and come into the office with that's awkward. Let's do it at 5 o'clock at night and invite the spouses. I mean, that's something as simple as it sounds, helps us develop that education of what it means to use healthcare. I mean, that's just one of the many.
Huge, Chris, because when we look at our claims reports, 50% of our high cost claimants will be spouses.
Right.
How are
Who
you
we
able
don't
to
see.
spouse?
Right.
It's, and I mean, we cannot say this enough. Figure out what you want to push out every month. Don't do it one time a year.
Yeah.
Or
And
if
that's
it's quarterly, again, whatever your employee population wants to receive education, that's how you have to adapt to it. So again, this is not one size fits all,
no.
and it's not one form of education. It's
No.
figure out how to educate across multi-platforms that fits your generation of that employee. And
it's so important. It's so
so
important. And there's all the different ways to get that done. I mean, we have several different solutions that can fit based on technology and generation, all of that. It's just know your population. I think that's key. The second one, Chris, that we talked about too, that we've seen that has really helped employers is to make it easy. Make it easy for your employees. Make it easy for them to understand your benefit program and what it means to go to the doctor. I mean, talk about that again, why that's so important when we look at educating the workforce.
And it's not keep things the same.
Yes.
Hashtag, if you're not changing anything, it's not going to change, right? Or what's our stupid hashtag? Again, I have
same stuff, same results.
Thank you. I have aged myself.
That's all right.
I've become one of those commercials on TV when they're trying to teach people to not be their parents. I am one of those people.
Fantastic.
But it's make it easy. I mean, of course, we can go into reference-based pricing and, we can add all these different things to it. But man, I beg you to sit back and say, can my lowest paid, least educated employee understand this?
Yes. And then build that over time, to work through a strategy that's over the course of several years. We're going to do this year, we're going to do this next year, and we're going to stair step it in, because you and I both know we can help every CFO that watches this cut their healthcare spend in half.
Of course.
Just strip your plan down and don't cover anything and don't let people go to the doctor, and you can automatically save 50%, but that doesn't help because you're going to lose all your employees. So it's got to be simple, and it's got to be over the course of many years.
Yes. And that's the thing that we're seeing. It's like, oh, we're going to do this. And then next year, oh, we're going to do this. Lay it out over the next 3 years. These are the 2 things or the 10 things or the 4 things we want to implement. And you've got to think about that over that period of time. Stop getting the one-offs. Oh, hey, I just was on a webinar about blah, blah, blah. And we need
to put it in. Yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't
work. So our third one, multi-pronged communication, make it easy, reward the extra step, the extra step. What do we see from those highest performing plans when they reward their employees for doing the extra little bit to make the right healthcare choice?
They start making the right choice, because at the end of the day, we can pray and hope that our employees care and they're going to be good consumers. But folks, if you're not giving them a carrot, if you're not giving them the Snickers bar,
right?
Guess what? They may not make that right decision.
That's
and the
so true.
best way to reward them financially.
Yes. Yep.
And there's, of course, 20 different ways to do this.
Yep. But it's ultimately, you make that extra phone call, you make the extra effort to research, you make that better healthcare choice in cost and outcome, you're going to pay less and you're going to be financially rewarded by the plan or by the employer. There's many ways to get there, but that is such a simple thing. People want to pay less. They want to feel like they have done something that's rewarded. It's so simple, but it can make a huge impact.
Yeah. And for you HR folks, don't worry. That doesn't mean you have to track it.
Yes.
You have to go up to Johnny and say, Johnny, did you make that extra? No, there are ways to do this that's not putting extra burden on HR. Yes, you've got to reward them financially or in some monetary means, right? Is
something
where we're seeing the highest performing organizations excel.